Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plague Pals. Hi, Maura.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Good. We are Bill Corbett and
Mara Quint.
Maura Quint. Have I been saying it too New Yorky? I'm kind of saying Maura. Is it
Oh,
more like Mara?
I never notice. I say it Mara, like very flat like that, but people
Mara.
people say Mora, Mara, Mira, Myra, Moira. The
Well,
only
some of
one
those
that
are
I
just
like,
wrong.
no, some of them are outright wrong, but Moira is the one that I think like gets to me a little, but otherwise,
Yeah,
all
we're
fine.
not in Galway here. Come on. No,
Yours is pretty straightforward, right, Bill? I've been doing that right? Is it?
yeah, it's
It's right there.
Bill.
Bill. He's
I have a cousin named Maura, and I think because we all grew up in Brooklyn together, I tend to get a
in your
little
head.
more Brooklyny when I say your name. Like Maura. Hi, Maura.
I
Uh,
like it. Getting back to your roots here. This
yeah,
is good.
I like your lighter touch though. So we have not talked in 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 whole weeks, which is like 5 years in normal time, I
All
suppose.
right. There are a lot of stuff that's gone on. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with
Mm.
the giant rally in Tulsa? Uh, Oh, first of all, I want to say happy birthday to your boy.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for sending the pet pics. He's
What did he say? What did you post on social media? It's Mora's 7 year old, well, just turned 7 year old boy birthday
hmm
today. And what did he request? It's just like it spoke to me.
Oh, he wanted brownies to do
Yeah.
fun things, which when pressed, just fun things, and pictures of cute animals. That was it. That was what he wanted for his birthday. So
God bless him.
we've got it going down.
From his mouth to God. I mean, that's a pretty perfect birthday.
It's fantastic, and everybody's been so great and like sending pictures, and he's just like sitting there, and he loves watching the heart turn red, so he's sitting there like hearting all the
Aw,
posts. But
sweetie.
it is, except now that he's like figured out where reply is, so many people
Uh-oh.
are getting like it's so cute and like 500 heart face emoticons because he's figured out, and he looks so serious. I mean, you would think he was like coding a, like stopping a bomb situation just very intensely.
Clip the blue wire.
Yeah, like he's in it, and then you look and it's just so cute.
He's drunk with social media power.
He is.
It happens to all of us eventually.
Oh, he really is, especially because he turned to his older brother and he's like, Lucas, do you know why they're doing this? It's because they're saying it to me. They're saying happy birthday to me on my
Lucas,
birthday. He's totally drunk.
Lucas, I
That's,
you do
yeah.
not have my clout.
That was exactly
Step up
right.
your game,
That
Lucas.
was exactly right. He's like, do you know what your Q waiting is? Because through the roof right over here. I got
Well,
dogs,
it's
cats
really
from.
cool. Do you know what the fun things are going to be at? That's a pretty broad category.
It
That
was a
can go
really
all
broad
sorts of
category. I
ways.
really tried to narrow that down, and it just stuck it. Fun things,
Hmm.
fun things. They've gotten like some Nerf guns, so the fun things so far have been
That
running
those are very
around
fun.
shooting Nerf guns. And I think we're going to go outside and see one of his friends who he hasn't seen
That's awesome.
since early March. Yeah, so that's
Do
the
you
big
guys do
surprise.
super soakers or any variations? I mean, I can tell you it's messy, but my kids, like in these summer months, just like that was the most fun thing. Anything
It,
where they could get each other and us soaking wet and be pretty aggro.
It was, I remember like when I was a kid, I feel like Super Soakers had just come out or something. It was like a big, big deal to have a Super Soaker. And that was all we ever wanted. My kids haven't quite discovered the like complexities of it. They just have like basic water guns. But
Those are good too.
yeah, well, I think it's just because I'm like trying to keep that tide from just washing over because they're going to want all of them when they find out what they
They're
can
going to
do.
want bigger and bigger weaponry,
They are going to
water
be like
weaponry.
a tiny little local police force that
Oh
suddenly has
God,
a tank and a bazooka. Like, just, yeah, we need all of this. We need it. There's a war.
it's a
That's,
water Sherman tank. It's
that's right.
fun.
I'm sure
You
they
can
have
actually
those.
knock down a house with the water pressure.
I want one.
So anyway, Trump had a rally.
He did.
It was they were saying his team was bragging in advance about the millions of people who wanted to come. Trump
Just
went out
warms
on
my
a
heart.
limb, to say basically, you know, we are going to fill this stadium and then we have another one we're going to try, but sorry in advance. I mean, I hate to break your heart, all you good people who want to come into the rally. Just watch it on TV. Yeah, we're back, baby. And then what happened?
It was so beautiful to see the actual exterior where they had built a whole podium stage. They were going to show it to all the thousands of people waiting outside, just to watch them before it even starts, breaking that down. And also knowing
Yeah.
that like all those all those tech guys are just so happy. They're like, yes, they thought this was going to be a late night. They are going home early. This is like
Yep.
thrill. It was
Ta-ta.
beautiful.
The
They had
overflow stage is what they were calling it.
the
Arrogant.
right.
I mean, you know, I guess you plan for your best case scenario, but this was, oh my God, was it overconfident? Because there was literally nobody. Like, people were just looking at the overflow stage, like, what is there going to be a band? Like,
Right.
what's
Right.
nope.
Should we stick around? Are they like giving away shirts or what's going on here?
And
Yeah.
it was just delicious to watch
It
him and his
was.
team die inside, you know, more and more over the course of that night.
It's beautiful. It's so nice. Like it's very rare, I feel like at this point in time that we can actually watch the hope and joy just drain from their eyes and it's such a blessing. It's delightful. I want to see it every day. I feed off of it. And it made me like what there were 6,000 people I think that came. I think it was a
Hmm.
third full. Due to the K-pop stands and TikTok teens, which again warms my heart. I love it so
I
much.
can you explain, like, I know the basics, but for people watching who might not,
If
and I
you
don't know
missed
why
it.
you might not, what, I don't know why you wouldn't at this point, but
Or if you just want to relive the glory of it,
relive the
it's
glory.
fantastic. I mean, the K-pop stands have been just fantastic. There's just such a mass of people who love Korean pop music, K-pop, and they are incredibly connected to one another. They've built a wonderful network so that they can share clips of K-pop stars, and they are now using it entirely for good. And so the TikTok teen, a teen on TikTok, put out a video saying we should all sign up for tickets and just make them
Hmm.
think that we're going to be there. And then it went through the K-pop community, and they did. They just rushed it, and they signed up for these huge, huge, huge numbers. And they did it mostly with like fake emails and
Right.
fake and all like fake, which means that's also just as like a data nerd makes me so happy that they just got flooded fake with fake news and
Yeah.
they can't weed out the good from the bad and now they have all
Oh,
of these
what a
like
shame.
terrible useless lists and I love that
You like
too.
fire hoses of bullshit? Here, right back at you.
That's exactly right. Open your
Um,
mouth.
I
Get
remember
ready.
the day after, Maura, I know that there was like a little bit of a back and forth, people who wanted to put that whole thing in its proper perspective. Like, yeah, they flooded the list of people who said that they what was it, like, didn't really reserve a spot necessarily. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what that list was for. Was it like like a statement of intention that you were going to show up, or
Yeah, so it's a sign up to attend. I mean, it's an RSVP,
yeah,
like,
okay. But
but
does
you
it
know, you don't have
actually
to
like
pay
reserve
anything.
you a seat? Do you know?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Because we
Okay.
tried this in 2017. We tried it here in Pennsylvania, even, and tiny little bits of success. He had a rally, and like that was the word, like, oh, sign up, and but there was just so many people that it didn't really matter that like, oh, 10,000 signed up,
Right.
the space is still full at
They're really just
5,000.
harvesting emails mostly, right? They're data
Yeah,
harvesting.
yeah,
Um, but I think the funny part is that these people who should really know better, like if they're any kind of professionals at all, absolutely got snookered by, like, they got high on their own
oh
farts,
yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
decided that, oh well, aren't we popular again? Like, and they bought it even though there's no reason why they shouldn't know that, oh, that can be punked easily. um, but then there was like a whole other aspect of it to my mind, which is that even given that they didn't get the numbers, like they didn't, it wasn't about getting millions, it was about like
Yeah, yeah,
breaking 1/3 of the arena space. And to
right.
me that was at least some tacit admission to me that a lot of these MAGA people are a little more freaked out about coronavirus than they want to they want to like front about. And maybe also, this is my sincere hope, is that a lot of them are just like saying, whatever, I'm not into them anymore. I'm going to go be fascist locally.
Invest in your local fascist
I'm
group. That's
concentrating
really
on my
important.
KKK work, just very
No,
local and locally sourced.
you see the results immediately right there. You know exactly how many white hoods you are creating and handing out.
Right.
It's fulfilling.
I'm a small business person at heart.
God, I wish this all were true, but it probably is.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
guys who really do that are probably own like, a couple of auto ship dealers in the region. Those are the
Why
small
is
business.
it? It is though. Like that's it. You've nailed the exact industry. That's who it is. I don't know why that's who it is. I have no proof that that's who it is. You could easily debunk this and tell me I'm completely wrong. And yet, for this moment in time, with absolutely nothing behind it, that is exactly who it is.
I believe that is true. I also think boat dealers,
Oh yeah.
that
I don't even think
entirely
about boat dealers.
unrelated type of person.
Absolutely. Who's
Um,
gonna buy a boat? But a person with lots of money and
yeah.
who has lots of money.
So either of us.
No, I'm not buying any boats. That's
Yeah.
definitely not happening.
Look, even if I got really rich, I've decided at one point in my life, I don't want to buy a boat. Like we do have neighbors here
You made
with,
that choice.
we're a little more solvent that have boats because we're near a lake, and the work, I mean, just on laziness alone, I don't want a boat.
Yeah.
But I also, yeah.
I have always felt that, the maximum height that you can reach in the world is having a friend who has a boat. Like that's it. If you've gone over into like I own a boat, now you just have a tremendous burden and it's a whole pain in the ass thing. But like if you have a friend who has a boat, that's it. That's
Yeah.
as high as you can go.
The problem that
Exactly.
is like people who have boats, like, tend to be people you don't want to hang with very much. I mean, I'm
That
generalizing.
explains why I have been failing in this
Yeah.
singular task. You're right.
Ditto people who have a cabin. Although here in Minnesota, that can be a lot more wholesome because some of them bought, it's like something that was in their family since the 1950s. It's really
Right.
just a little shack or a little, a genuinely humble cabin that's been added onto over the years. So we have friends who have cabins of varying
Okay.
degrees of stuff. I still don't want to own one. I barely want to own my house. Like
I didn't, yeah.
yeah.
I was very anti-home ownership. It just seems scary to me. Like, I love the idea of, oh, something's going wrong. I call a guy and I yell at him, and then it's his problem.
Yeah,
That's
you can still
perfect.
do that. You just have to pay.
Right. Yeah. No, without having to actually put down any extra money. That's
Right.
definitely.
I like it. We like not sharing walls with people after, so many years of
Fair.
apartment living, my wife and I, and we never lived in the apartment with kids, but at some point it was like, I've had enough, like being at the mercy of dubious neighbors, which is, you roll the dice no matter what situation
What
you're
sort
in.
of terrible neighbors did you have? What were they doing on the walls? Was there
Well, I
like
mean, it's like,
screams or is it a
yeah,
banging?
they were kind of
or
noisy sometimes for us, and I
a
really am
welder live next door or anything like that?
just some people who like to stay up late and have big parties when I was kind of past that phase in my life.
Okay.
But also like issues with dogs who I
Oh,
generally love, but having them kind of like use your shared space to take poopies and not clean it up, that kind of stuff. Boundary issues.
I feel like I have been incredibly lucky with neighbors actually. Like which is also making me think maybe I was the terrible neighbor.
No, it's not a requirement that somebody be terrible.
It seems like it is though. I have to like revisit a lot of
It's not a
my history
binary.
now.
No. But yeah, I mean, here and there, like our neighbors right now are awesome. Could not ask for better. Yeah, that's been the norm.
Do they have a
But the
boat
couple
though?
of times we've had like, what's that?
Do they have a boat though? Because that would be the way to ask
They
for more.
actually do have a boat. Yeah.
All right.
But
All right.
I don't want to push my luck. I don't want to, like, there's a lot
You don't
of
want to rock
neighbors.
the boat.
There's a lot. There are a lot of neighbors I like exactly where we are right now, which is to say, if I spend a lot of time with you, it may go in a different direction. Like, and at this point, like there's enough of them that I kind of trust that, but I don't really like being on boats for long because I just
That's a whole other
that's a whole other issue.
thing. Yeah.
My comfort on boat. It's really about like being trapped on something that it's not about the water. It's not about being on
Okay.
boats per se. It's about like being at the mercy of somebody else's schedule with no means of egress. Big issue in my life. Working it out with my shrink. Just
That
like,
seems reasonable. Like that seems like a reasonable issue to have. That
yeah,
doesn't seem like a, you know,
it's a
you're
control
within the
issue.
world of most people, I think.
Let's change this podcast focus to analyzing my bullshit.
Analyzing Bill weekly.
It would be so boring. Um,
I don't think that's true. I think it would be incredibly interesting. Who doesn't want like insight to other people's pathologies and anxieties and all of that stuff? It's like, it's utterly fascinating.
I want it mostly to feel smug about my own, just like, well, at least I don't have that.
That's exactly
like,
right. Yeah. I could have dealt with that. I would have, no problem.
Spiders. I mean, I don't love them, but I'm not freaking out about it.
Oh, that's always the line. I don't love them, but and then the moment there's a spider, that person is just like losing their mind.
Just very quickly, parenthetically, I love this discussion with anybody I know. Like, do you have any phobias? Like real, like, things that feel irrational.
So I did for a long time have a really, really severe fear of needles that I have like.
Needles?
Yeah,
I've hypodermic needles or sewing needles or any kind.
Anything that would go in your skin. I could deal with a sewing needle, but like don't put it near my skin, and I don't like it
Yeah.
anymore. But yeah, no, I was really, really sick. I had an illness as a child, and I was in the hospital for a month, and I was on IVs. And
what was it, if you don't mind me asking?
It was Stevens-Johnson syndrome. It's just
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, people have started to hear about it, but no one did forever. It is a sudden allergic reaction that like for something that you've had no issues with previously, and it was to a sulfa drug. Like I had an ear infection, and they gave me a drug for it, and my body just rejected it completely.
Oh my God.
And it was basically like I was in the burn unit because my body reacted as though it was just severely burned and bubbling and all disgusting and vile. I mean, I was out of it. I was in 5th grade, so I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, terrifying for my parents. They had to like put me in an ambulance and rush me to the children's hospital in Philly, which was 2 hours away, and it was a whole thing. But so they had to give me shots daily. They had an IV in me daily, and like my arm swelled, so they had to put it in the other arm. Then they had to start giving me that swelled. They had to give me shots in my foot, and so that is like the origin, I think. And after that, like needles were just I have no other trauma or like real memories from that time, but the needles thing stuck with me, and
very reasonable very reasonable phobia in a way.
The worst was in college. I was doing a play, and my role was like a doctor, and I
did not know that you trod the boards, Maura.
A tad, just a bit here and there, I put on a hat, and it's
that's mostly what acting is, putting on hats.
So I had to draw blood, like, fake. They had a thing, and I had to get the needle into this little blood packet. Yeah, I mean, one would hope. The one that I was doing it on is the one who had to hope. That was like, that was my most severe acting challenge, was that I had to take a needle and like actually use it and act like this was something I do 25,000 times a day because I'm a doctor. No big deal. That was my hardest challenge. Yeah. In my very, very long acting career.
So this is getting very medical, but I'm just going to say that I had to face my, I don't really have a fear of needles, but I was faced with something a couple of years ago that was the worst thing ever for me, which was I had to give myself shots. I got a blood clot in my leg as I was running. It was the weirdest thing. And they treated it like an emergency. I was running and I just felt like some kind of thing give out. And they said it was sort of a freakish occurrence.
We're both medical freaks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know whether the doctor like didn't have his shit together or not. He was like an older sort of unappealing dude who might have overreacted and might have thought insurance. I have to give this guy everything. But he put me on a course where I had to inject myself in my stomach a couple of times a day with these disposable needles full of something called Coumadin, which is a clot like an anticoagulant.
Uh-huh.
And it
How long
just
did you have to do this?
about a month. Um, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And it made me appreciate like uh, the people who have to do that every day for whatever,
Absolutely.
diabetes or any number of things. Anyway, it's gotten gross. Sorry.
Unless you like needles. I mean, I don't know. People have
Yeah.
different sort of things. They could be really way into it, but yeah,
I will
no.
say the
Oof, that's terrible.
one thing that feels like a phobia to me, it's definitely a fear of heights,
Mm.
but it is not all encompassing. Like I've never had any fear of going up in a plane. I don't know why that doesn't affect me. It does my
I've heard
brother.
that before. That
Um,
people, because you don't feel as like you don't feel that sort of immediate vulnerableness
for
of
some
falling
reason, I
because you're
don't. I
contained.
mean, if I think about it for more than a minute, it's like, oh my God,
Right.
extremely vulnerable up here.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
it's
A
just,
stray goose could take you out, but sure.
all right. Now I can feel it developing in real time.
I'm sorry.
But
You don't have to go anywhere, right? No one's getting on planes for a while.
no,
You're fine.
no. In fact, I was thinking that the other day. It's like it's been kind of delightful not to be getting on planes. Like
Yeah.
I miss traveling theoretically, but you know, it's been a while since the whole TSA bullshit and all that. It's like this feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. I've
Anyway,
loved it.
the height phobia I have comes with watching other people in high places.
Oh.
You know, have you ever discovered these? Like, it's a brand of YouTube. Sometimes they're like guys who do parkour.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're just daredevils or maniacs. I mean, absolute madmen in my estimation, who go to like the tops of very tall skyscrapers and fuck around basically, and like go to
Oh,
the edge of them and sometimes hang off of them and all that. To me, that is like watching. It's I can't do it. Um,
I don't think I'd like that either at
Very
all.
personally, like watching my kids in any height. My daughter actually loves to climb and she's really good at it, and she has no fear at all of like rock walls and things like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I found that very difficult to watch. Whereas I'm
Presumably she's like roped in though, right?
Oh
Like, or is
yeah,
she
no,
just
like there's not a
okay?
real lot of danger there.
Okay, all right.
um Going up in a Ferris wheel with my kids when
Oh
I was
wow.
like, I am not scared of being up there myself. For some reason I just get
Oh,
this weird,
interesting.
like they're gonna jump out at any second, like even after they are like so far beyond toddlerhood that they're just like enjoying it. And anyway,
That's really interesting. So yeah, that's the same sort of fear of control issue that we were talking about before with the boat thing. Like you,
that is definitely the theme of my life. So
yeah, no,
all
that's really
right,
interesting. I
we'll
have
get into
like
this.
a personal feeling, and I think maybe it's crazy, but like I fear myself a little bit. Like I'm in no way an impulsive person, like at all,
Hmm.
but I have this occasional like streak of fear, like if I'm at a tall place, not that I'll fall or that someone will push me, but that I'll just get it in my head to jump. Like I'm like afraid of myself, like that I might make some crazy stupid decision all of a sudden to
Hmm.
do something insane. And I get this feeling too. This is the dumbest thing, but now we're just down this whole path. But when I am in the shower and I was shaving a razor and I'm shaving my legs, it's not that I'm gonna like hurt myself with the razor, but I always have this moment of thinking I'm gonna space out thinking about something and accidentally shave my head instead of washing it. Like it,
This happened to me.
it's
This is the result.
I have this feeling like every 3 days or something of like a moment of panic that I'm going to space out and shave my own head.
That is interesting.
Analyze me. What's that? I don't know.
I don't
That's
know. I
just
totally identify with the yeah, fear that you're gonna go suddenly like sideways and decide you need to
yeah.
jump off. I had that on the Grand Canyon. I remember seeing the
Oh
Grand
yeah.
Canyon, which have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
I have twice.
Did you see or do you remember the warning signs in like the ranger station? They're pictures. I mean, there's plenty of
Oh
signs,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there's also some pictures up there, a picture gallery of people who fucked around and found out on the Grand Canyon. And they're basically like
Oh,
scared straight things of, you know,
oh
like
my
people just
God.
Um, I
I
don't know
did
if
not see
I
those
might have gone
pictures.
to a particularly grisly ranger station or
I was
something.
gonna say, I
Some
don't know that those were for public display there. Like you
some
might have wandered into
masochist.
somebody's special little room where they have their own thing going on.
But anyway, like that, I remember going around the Southwest and just feeling like, look at all this open sky welcoming me. But I don't, that's not a dominant favorite. All right, we should get off this topic. People are gonna like start to make phone calls
We
about,
have been in
oh
quarantine
yeah,
for a
right.
really long
Yeah,
time. This is what
this is
happens.
talking about the week. The week is existential dread always. This is how
You
it
know what? It has been in the periphery the whole time. Now we're just confronting it head
getting
on.
down to it, man.
This is it. This is absolutely it. Yeah. Trump, his rally. Oh, the coda to that bit and
Mm-hmm.
his rally is I and I don't know if it's official yet, but I saw the like sort of side rumors that Brad Parscale is going to be stepping down following that because he just failed so spectacularly.
I
And
have
that makes me happy.
no, and he's his digital director or campaign manager,
Campaign, yeah, he's campaign manager.
but he is yet another person who I feel exactly no sympathy for whatsoever.
Oh gosh, no.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of get what you get when you work with Trump. He will always throw your ass. He will always seek out other people to blame, which is very rampant in our culture in general. But he is like
He's the
the
leader.
final boss of blaming other people.
That's
Um,
absolutely right.
it seems like this guy could, you know, name some names or deals if he wanted to. But I think as we've learned over the last couple of years, despite all the fond hopes of liberals, most people who got associated with Trump in the first place are not the kind of honorable people who want to like tell all or
But
actually do right.
it is weird that they're not doing it out of sense of vengeance though. Like not for any sort of yes, I owe the people this, but more just like a fuck that guy. He fucked me over, now I'm gonna fuck him over. Like
Pussies.
more of that kind of
Sorry.
yeah. Like
Sorry.
why isn't there that situation going on?
The closest it seems it came is very recently with John Bolton, who
Yeah.
I mean, he was always one of the scariest, worst people of the Bush administration, which is saying a lot. I mean,
And now those guys are cute.
yeah, they're adorable. They paint puppies.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted war with everybody all the time. He wanted to nuke Iran. He
He
still
just didn't
did.
want to have to be the one fighting it. That's
Right.
all.
Oh,
You know?
never.
Right. So now that it's actually him having to be involved in the fight, not so much.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
So
I hate that guy.
yeah, he's very hateable. To me, it's like the ideal scenario with John Bolton would be like treat him like um this is imperfect, but Trump is Sauron in Lord of the Rings. Do you know Lord of the Rings?
Not well, but well enough
All
to
right,
know who
I know it.
Sauron is.
I know it too well. It's terrible.
It's the
And
giant eye, right?
yeah. And Bolton is Gollum. Like he
Uh-huh.
he has a thing that he wants. He wants the
I gotcha.
ring.
I gotcha.
And in the process of accidentally destroying Sauron, he destroys himself. So both things go away. Like I
That's
want
the
everyone
ideal.
to lose is my point.
And why not do it in New Zealand? Just, you know, it's pretty there. Go ahead.
Oh, don't infect that poor place. I mean,
You're
New
right.
Zealand right now, I know it's got I don't know enough about it. I'm sure it has a lot of bad history and bad kind but the woman who is the president of that country, and I think her name is Jacinda Ardern or Ahern, and I think I fumbled
sounds right.
similarly in a past podcast with the same name. But she is like the best leader in the world right now. So let's keep our shitty people
Seems
away
like
from
it.
her.
And I think a really good reason for that probably is because we don't really know anything, which is so nice. It's like, oh, we don't have to know. And so we can just keep this sort of ideal of like, look, there's a good leader.
I know.
I'm like, I have to couch it like that because I'm sure that like there's some, you know, progressive in New Zealand being like, that fucking neolib, how dare you? Like,
Right.
I don't know, but she
Don't
seems
tell me about her
great.
shitty real estate deal or something.
Yeah,
Like,
right now she seems like, you know, she seems imaginary. She doesn't even seem real. She
yeah.
seems like something we like created out of this sort of dream
She's
of another place.
Galadriel.
which is also how New Zealand feels too, actually. I don't necessarily know that New Zealand is real. It might just be this sort of
Yeah.
like joint
It's
delusion
on
that
a
we're all having.
it's on a Hollywood set somewhere. It's mostly CGI.
That's
So
probably
speaking
true.
of politics and leaders, as you pointed out before we got on the air,
Oh, yeah.
progressives had a good night last night, at least in the New
Pretty
York City
good.
area.
It's pretty good. I mean, Pennsylvania already had our elections April, and we had some good progressive wins here that were not super talked about because who cares, I suppose, outside of the state of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is big. And
It
people get
is
like
big.
a
It
lot of
is.
electoral votes and stuff.
But it's
Um,
also like, it's Pennsylvania is the sort of like forgotten, like, isn't that mostly farms in Philadelphia, right? Like, that's cheesecake and cows. That's what we've got. Um, so it gets thrown aside. But it was really nice to see New York, who is our neighbor, faring similarly with some really strong progressive wins.
yeah, what before we get to New York, who were the triumphant progressives in Pennsylvania?
If I tried to list them, I would mangle all of their names. Uh, so
Well, if
the
not
only
their
one I
names, maybe like the offices that they got.
there were a couple within the Philadelphia area representatives who are progressives who won. And then we actually had some movement on Pennsylvania State Senate, which I know is much, much more out of anyone's view, but matters, the state senates,
Absolutely.
they make a difference.
I think that's what one of the lessons of the 40-year juggernaut of right-wing takeover of the government is like you got
Right.
to start on the local levels, like even the smallest, the school board, you know, it
That's
all
right.
goes up to the top. Like that's the training ground, the proving ground.
I actually, I was very like, I had mentioned to you before that I've tried to just be focused on like local politics because I
Hmm.
can't deal with the presidential stuff. And this is the first time that I've ever volunteered for a candidate who won anything. I was
That's
starting to feel
great.
that I was a curse. So, yeah, so we had some good wins. So it was nice. Um, and maybe we'll make Pennsylvania more like Virginia with that sort of strong blue element to it. Now we're all tipping each other over one by one. There's hope,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
So last night in New York, or yes, the big hope of everybody who is bad, pretty much, the Fox News contingent, the Wall Street people, and plenty of Democrats, is
Mm-hmm.
that AOC would go down for the
Oh,
count. So they primaried her with some Wall Street, sponsored, like really, really sponsored, like they really put
oh,
resources into it.
several billionaires
Yeah.
were making massive contributions.
And she absolutely slaughtered them, this challenger. Like it was not even a contest. And that is
When I
very
saw it, she was
satisfying.
winning by 69.69%, which seems like its own sort of troll, frankly.
It's nice,
Like,
nice.
yeah, really, really
Double
lined it
nice.
up. Double nice.
Yeah. So that was good. Like, and I think what we learned with people, like she's sort of the trailblazer on a certain level. I mean,
Yeah,
she's generationally, at least. I know like there are many heroes in the past, like that people forget, including me right now. But I have to say, like she's become emblematic of the, hey, let's challenge not only the establishment of the other party but our party, because
right.
and she had a kind of a legendary victory 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so and she's very articulate and well spoken about what she believes. She's done some great stuff in hearings. I think
Yeah.
over the course of 2 years, a lot of people on the left have been like, she's not that great. She's got this and that and the other. Totally stipulated. Every one of these people are going to disappoint. But by and large, she's been pretty good. And like I don't know how much better you're gonna do at this point, especially somebody with like decades ahead of them who can keep that rolling for years.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, no, you can't like build people up as these sort of infallible heroes. That's just absolutely pointless. But you do have to always look to like who do you want to be pushing? Do you
yeah.
want someone who's already moved to this place, who's already real close to the edge? It's easier to push them right up. But or do you want someone that is just way on the other side and it's just going to be everything is a constant fight and struggle? I mean,
Hmm.
any leader is not going to do everything you personally want them to do at any given moment. Also because a lot of these things are, they are complicated. There are so many interconnected pieces that, there are things that may seem like this is the right way to go, but when you look at it over here and the way that that's going to affect this, I mean, it does get into sort of nitty gritty, and that's why you end up as well with, certainly Bernie has been called out for some things that look like bad votes, but then when you look at the
Yes,
whys of, I
I
mean,
would
like
say some of them were like some of
some of
the
them were
voices, you
definitely,
know.
definitely.
What I have really appreciated about AOC, and I appreciated that she goes by AOC, so to say the whole name every time. And but I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, pretty easy, really.
Yeah,
Um,
but she's
um,
saving us time, which is nice. I
Saving us
like
time, I
efficiency.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no.
One of the things I've really appreciated about her over her time in the last 2 years is that she's unusually transparent
Hmm.
about the processes of Congress, and
Yeah,
she has a sort of rolling explainer on her social media about why some things happen and why some things just don't get anywhere. Um, and I know she has to balance that somewhat with still being like a member of the Democratic Party, and sometimes that has been awkward as hell. Just the juxtaposition of, hey, Nancy Pelosi and I are here doing this, and meanwhile
right.
kind of basically subtweeting her like on the other. But I do appreciate that, and I think if more Democrats, and to do that, you have to not be beholden to funders. You just
Hmm.
have to be, because you can't go around them if they are the people who can make or break you. And
That's right.
that's been just wonderful to see people saying, all right, this is the only way I'm going to be able to get this done in an honest way and actually help people, is to just say, I will not take your money. I will not be beholden to you. And it's really an enormous challenge, but she blazed a real trail there on the local level.
She is uniquely talented in being able to communicate with people in a lot of different ways, which I think is not something that necessarily everyone, even everyone that a progressive
No,
would want can do. I mean, she has a lot of skill sets that are really great for this, and she utilizes them fantastically. I mean, she
hmm
she really is so good about laying bare everything that's going on. Like you said, it's wonderful.
and in
Um,
hearings too. That's like, I was pretty jazzed about her presence in Congress just because of her platform, basically.
mhm.
But then when she got into hearings, she was equally tenacious and good in just like, and as she explained it again, which I appreciate, it was like, well, I have time to do this. I have time to prepare because I'm not on my phone all day trying to get money from,
Right.
Morgan Stanley or whoever, if they
That's
weren't
right.
one of the casualties of 2008. I might be
No, I
behind.
think they still exist.
Okay.
I don't think there were any real casualties, actually. There were only maybe some zombies that were created,
Right.
but nothing actually went away.
But I do
They're all still
appreciate
there.
that, and I just feel like we need so much more of that, because I still think that people don't understand the real dynamic, which you and I do, of course,
Well,
wise
we're
people.
very worldly, of course.
That a lot of what Democrats do is not because they're scared. They may be that as well. They may be naturally, you know, cowardly people. I don't know, but I don't think that's the real explanation. I think it's because they are pretending to be um, not beholden to things that they are extremely beholden to, and
Right.
that's money interests, and really, so they play this sort of like, yeah, you get some of the info, like, we want to fight for your health care, we want to preserve and protect, but the limits on what they are willing to do are extremely clear. And
Yes.
it's not because they are scared of fighting it, it's because that is who is paying them.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's always, I mean, it's always the money. It's always the money. It's incredibly frustrating to see. But it's wonderful thinking that we're going to have more people potentially. Obviously, this is only a primary race, so who knows? But
Yeah.
potentially some more progressive voices in there because, I mean, AOC is not doing it alone, but AOC and the squad and the extended squad can't do it alone. They, if it's 4 people, if it's 6 people, however you want to, count, that's not nearly enough out of the 435 representatives. Is that right? I don't know what the number is,
So
but
it sounds right.
Let's pretend that's right.
I could be fooled though.
It's definitely 435. That is the only
Yeah,
possible answer.
empirically.
But right. I mean, we're not even like we're not breaking the surface here in terms of the vast numbers that we need. So like
Yeah,
the more we can get, it's great. And Jamal Bowen
he genuinely
he
does
seems
seem
really
great.
wonderful.
And
Yeah.
and it was just tasty as could
Oh
be because he defeated Elliot Engel, who is just one of the worst kind of Democrats, just like absolutely beholden to Wall Street, barely lives, as I understand it, in his district, or
right.
literally doesn't. Um, um, Voted for the Iraq War. Like you could just check off the list of like shit I don't want in a Democrat. And then he was endorsed by just about every power person: Schumer, Hillary Clinton, Pelosi, bunch of others, and it was like, nope.
And they really like it was utterly fascinating to me that this is the one endorsement Hillary Clinton made. I mean, she has a choice. She has every choice in the world. She could endorse 10 people, she could endorse 20, she could endorse no people. It's entirely up to her. She can do what she wants. This is what she wanted to do. This one guy. That's it.
Yeah, and it's
Unbelievable.
weird, this is where it gets really dizzying when
Yeah.
when the ostensible reason for her candidacy and a lot of the stuff that liberals want is we got to get rid of the old white men in power. It's
Right.
like, oops, I'm sorry. Do you hear that?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, it's gonna look like crazy when it comes to recording this later. But that was a phone call coming in on my
Oh.
on my
Was it
computer.
important?
No.
Okay. I didn't
Uh,
hear a thing.
Anyway, that is ostensibly the reason that in the whole horrible, drawn out, never ending 2016
Right.
election thing, it's like, well, we don't need another old white man and Bernie, forgetting that he's Jewish, which is an actual factor. And so representation, like I have always thought, like, yeah, that actually does matter. I think that matters much more than a lot of leftists who are just class based. I think it is
Yeah.
complex. Um, but when you come down to this choice of like a black school teacher from from the neighborhood, as opposed to this dug in guy, Elliot Engel, um, who is a white man, I think he's probably Jewish too. So a little complication to it's not exactly like um, John
He's certainly
Whitebread from the
establishment.
Midwest, but he's certainly establishment. And so, how come that doesn't apply to him? How come that doesn't apply to so many instances of people backing the wrong people over the years?
Yeah,
Um,
and it's not for me even just like that they wouldn't choose to endorse Jamal, but really going out of your way to say, like, I need to try and tip my finger on the scale here. Like, this is the important place for me to weigh in and try and make a difference is just, it's really, really interesting to me because also, you know, most of these people too are like, they're self interested, and they're spending their political capital on these losses. I,
I
I
know.
guess it doesn't affect them in the world that they want to have influence on, I suppose, but
I would
or they
like to
hope it doesn't.
believe that it's cumulative and that something is adding up. I don't know if
I
that's
would
true or
too.
not, but
I would too.
you can only go all out for so many losers that people reject, and they just like you have no power here, as they say in the Wizard of Oz.
I mean, as someone who has backed a lot of losers, no one expects me to have any
Same,
ability here.
very same.
I recognize that I have absolutely no power. I don't weigh in on these things because I have
Hmm.
none. I would think that eventually, others might start to feel that way.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well,
Probably not.
it God, I wish I could think of another race recently where it was like obviously like you get both. You get good representation of non-white, non-male candidates,
Hmm.
and you get progressivism, but or you get like Medicare for all and all that stuff that centrists and the establishment dislikes. They
Hmm.
will go for the not like they will go for the political, like the more centrist.
Oh yeah.
They will choose their political interest rather than the representation choice. And I know I'm painting with a very broad brush here, but if you see that slate of candidates in New York last night who were sort of like the progressive gang, and some of them are still waiting on results, some of them
Yeah.
probably lost, um, but not there wasn't a single white man in that group,
Hmm.
and they were all progressive. And there's like at that point there's no excuse except I don't want Medicare for all, I don't want this, I don't want that. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
laid bare.
they are voting or they are supporting policies just like the progressives are supporting policies.
Right,
They're just lying about it. They're
right,
just pretending they're not.
right.
But they absolutely are. The things that are paramount to them are to halt progressivism in so
Hmm.
many different forms, especially in anything that would be economic. And healthcare is an economic issue. And
Big. It's so big, and it's so much a source of their coffers at the DNC,
mm-hmm,
along with all the Wall Street industries, if you want to call
right,
them that, rackets.
rackets, exactly.
But
That's
you're
what
right.
that.
That is what it comes down to. But then if you kind of do it on the other, if you and I do it, or I don't know, it doesn't go both ways, obviously. So I think it
No.
is cynically manipulated, and they are happy
Mm-hmm.
to have um, black people and women or people of color who fit their political and economic needs as a way to soften that issue. But when it goes the other way, it's like let's pretend that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how every group is. They're happy to include the people who fit their own messaging, whatever it is. The only difference being whether or not you are stating otherwise up front. Like, no, 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 no. It matters to me that it's a black woman, unless that black woman wants Medicare for all. In which case, nope, nope, not her.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
you know,
exactly right.
that's the part that they're swallowing and not saying out
Do you
loud,
think
which
that
is
extends to Republicans? I've always wondered that. Like they are happy to have like a couple of black people. My my wonder is,
I think
I
they'd
think
be
they
happy to have
find
more.
them very useful. I think
Sure.
they'd be happy to have more, but I feel like if it got to a certain number, like a critical mass, their base would go batshit, like because the racism would just like be reactivated, and it's just like I don't care. I don't care if you. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm really not sure. I mean, that may be the case, or maybe they would be successfully fighting racism of some extent by,
Hmm.
just structurally oppressing minorities as opposed to individually oppressing them. I'm
Hmm.
not sure. That's really an interesting point to think about, though.
Well, I do know that like the Democratic Party better be aware that that is something that the Republicans will try if they feel it's in their best interest. I mean, they've already tried, like they're doing really stupid versions of it now with Diamond and Silk, and there are candidates and people who
Sure.
like black people who genuinely believe that the Republican way.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason to think otherwise, except, oh, well, they're paid which robs
No.
them of their agency and is another kind of racism. But I have to say, like,
Ben Carson is legitimately a Republican. I have no problem believing it.
yeah, him and
That's
magic surgeon hands,
that's that is a choice he has made.
literally a brain surgeon, literally.
It's terrifying. Really, really scary.
But I guess what I mean is the Democrats should be prepared that they're not going to have this, they're not going to corner this area forever,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Of representation, especially the way
Well,
the demographics of the country are going. It's like you got to be prepared. That was the whole hope of Marco Rubio back in 2008. It's like, oh, we can have youngish
mm-hmm,
people who are browner than our usual pasty white candidates,
mm-hmm.
and still have the same shitty values.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, like the right adores Candace Owens, like absolutely
Oh
adore
my
her.
God,
She's
yes.
their, oh, they hold her up all the time. And
Yeah.
I see, she is one figure that I see break through because in my mind, she's like a Twitter person in in a lot, like a lot of these other sort of pundits that no one has heard of outside of the world of social media, but I see her actually permeating like people that I wouldn't think would have any real knowledge of that. They certainly don't have any other knowledge of like pundits that exist primarily online. She's a really strong figure.
They scooped her up very quickly because, you know, she's attractive, she's young,
Mhm.
she can talk in what seem to be extended, coherent ideas and sentences. She's sarcastic.
Mhm.
She's you know, got that wicked fuck you kind of sense of humor. So yeah, very
She's
valuable.
right in line with Ben Shapiro. Like they're all very much in that same sort of mold of the way that they
Yeah,
speak and
elevated
engage. And
trolls.
yeah, elevated trolls. That's right.
That's all I
Absolutely.
am, man. I'm not even sure I'm elevated,
But
but
you're
yeah,
not
like
pretending to be anything else. You
right.
know, that's the difference. Like own that. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, I mean they
Oh,
want to keep power, and they'll do it if they have to like find allies who, you know, make it easier for them to do so.
you
And
reminded me of something I saw today. I saw a like conservative think tank polling that was going around where they were testing the messaging of Democrats want to give tax cuts to the rich. They were testing on their end the idea of putting themselves as the tax the rich party, and the Democrats are the ones who are trying to like, you know, just give the wealthy more money, which
yeah,
is fascinating. That's even within their role of like, yeah, no, we can. All right, if people that's what they want, we can start saying that. We can paint ourselves that way, and they can. Like,
ultimately there's nothing you can do with extraordinarily 100% shameless liars except, you know, fight back and tell the truth. Where the Democrats keep, you know, and I know I rag on them a lot, but they deserve it.
they
um,
absolutely deserve it.
they keep refusing to take any firm stands in the areas that people like or
Mm-hmm.
need, for the most part. I mean, people want to be rid of Donald Trump. They really do. Like, there's a hunger in this country. His polling is terrible. Yeah, he'll always have that insane, you know, frighteningly high base number, but it's
Mm-hmm.
shrinking. It's shrinking precipitously. They're seeing the guy is going to do nothing for them. And I think if they ran on a platform of like, Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about you, paraphrasing, um, here's we do, and here's what we're going to do for you,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to Joe Biden making a big deal about the leader of Venezuela and how we are not strong enough to stand up. Nobody gives a shit. And the people who do give a shit are mostly saying, you're on the wrong side of that, man. You know, in terms of the Democratic Party, except for
Yeah,
the
certainly.
monsters who
In terms of
use the
speaking to
oil.
anyone who's actually going to come out and vote,
Yeah,
it's not where most people's, it's not where my head's at. I don't know, but
the
no
base
one
is
else that I
not
speak to.
like, you know, like they're not showing up to replace Maduro with some shitty oil puppet, Guaido, whatever his name is.
I don't
um
know.
I don't
I'm
even
just
know.
going to call him Shitty Oil Puppet.
Shitty oil
SOP.
puppet.
SOP for short.
Anyway.
Um, I think you're entirely right, and I definitely. Oh, um, what I think, what I'm a little bit afraid of in terms of the upcoming election, uh, is, you know, we had the CARES Act. Some people got $1,200. Not everyone, and not everyone who needs it, but some money went out to some people. Trump held it up because he had to have his name on the checks and all that sort of stuff. And the Republicans have now held up additional packages going forward. Um, they held up the Heroes Act there, and Trump has started talking about like how there's going to be another relief package, a bipartisan relief package, and I have this feeling that he is going to hold off until the fall and then put another a relief package through so that he can send everyone another one-time singular payment right before the election. And because people have been so starved and the government has been of so little help to anyone, during this pandemic, with like these tiny little things aside. I mean, the unemployment insurance has made a real difference, but they're looking to let that expire. So, I mean,
Mhm.
there's just not nearly enough has been done. People are going to be in need again at that point, and it is going to seem as though he's hearing what people need and responding to it. And I think that that will be an opportunity, because he's good at taking advantage of those sort of opportunities. And meanwhile, you know, the Dems could get ahead of that. They could be fighting it really hard. They could be screaming about the Heroes Act. They could have gone harder in the
They could
Heroes
have
Act.
they could have been for the last 2 months.
They could have been going crazy, so that when or if that were to happen, there's like a built up understanding of, we finally pushed him to do it, rather than
Right.
the benevolent leader has graced this upon you, which is how he's going to be able to play this off right now. And that's where I'm like, it just seems so strange to me that they are always chasing and never anticipating and planning ahead for these potential
Mhm.
possibilities and potential inevitabilities. So I think,
Well, this is where I start to depart from that analysis, though. It's like it is not strange to me anymore. Like I
that's just a
that,
crutch word I use,
no, I
but
know, no,
yes,
I get, I guess I
you're
totally get what
right.
you mean because I'm in the same place where I keep feeling like, why aren't they
No,
doing this or
yeah.
why aren't, and the answer is always the same, and it's what you and I said a couple of minutes ago. It's like they are moderating the amount of capital that goes out the door. They're the
Mm-hmm.
softer version of it, and I'm not saying that they're the same. Like on social issues, there's no contest that the Democrats are better. Um, and and a whole bunch of things, even on the bread and butter issues they are
Sure.
closer, but it is the constant process of giving you, when you need a loaf of bread, giving you like that slice of a heel of bread kind of stale, when the Republicans give you nothing.
Yeah.
So the minute this pandemic started, I think we started our first version of this little video cast with this. It's like they could be out there now
Right.
just dumping for things that people need and want and becoming so
Right.
indelibly identified with those things. Like Medicare for all is a very obvious one. Green New Deal, like, real relief. And then making sure people always associate, but they don't care if, first of all, they don't really want people to have that. And
They
certainly they don't
don't.
care if they win to a point. Like they're
They don't
playing.
want people to have it. And the funnier thing to me is that, like, but they draw the line at lying. Like, they're not going to tell, like, they could just be lying about it. Like, they could just say, like, no, no, we want this for you. We're fighting for this for you. And then just not do anything. And in
Yeah.
fact, be like tripping it up in the background. But for some reason, that's the like, well, we're not going to lie. I mean, they lie all the time, but on like these big issues, we're not gonna like say we want this and not. It's weird. Like, that's what's weird to me, kind of. Like, you already have so few morals. I don't know. You
there's
don't even want
enough
to
there's
like.
an there's enough of a lie by omission, I think, when they say we're fighting for healthcare, we're fighting.
All right,
You really
but
you really aren't. You really aren't. I haven't
you
seen it. I mean,
no,
the best you could say is that they are fighting against the further damage, which
right.
is a fair point. But we're always in this state of like, you better support us, or that guy is gonna fuck you even worse. And
Yeah,
that is just that. I think what this generation of people younger than me certainly, but like a whole generation of people is coming up saying that is just not doable anymore. It's like it can't simply be that you are better than the worst fucking people in the world. Like we can aspire to a little better.
right. I mean, I hope so. But some progressives are winning, so maybe we really
They
can.
are.
Maybe we really can. The only bummer so far is that it looks like Amy McGrath in Kentucky. It looks like she potentially has the lead there. For a while last night, Booker was leading,
Mm-hmm.
and it will be she. I see no way for Amy McGrath to win, which means Mitch McConnell will stay in office,
Yeah.
which means nothing.
Yeah, because she's quoted famously saying, "I want to work with Trump."
Yeah, no,
Like, well,
she's
we got a guy who works with Trump there already. People who want that got their man. We want people who want fucking
right.
destroy Trump, and that would be Booker. I'm not
That
giving
was
hope yet. I think you may have seen something more recently than me.
I looked right before we started recording
Uh,
because I was hoping for like oh maybe we'll have something nice to say, and it was at like 65 30. It was not great. It looked
mhm.
bad, but I don't know. I have absolutely no idea which precincts aren't in or how much. I no clue on that, and certainly they hadn't called it yet. Um, it was still an open race, but I mean, anything could happen. But when
That's
I
it.
was in Kentucky working with organizers in January, they were so vocal just about they do not like Amy. They don't like her. They don't want to fight for her. They don't see her being a mobilizing candidate. They don't see like almost all of the on the ground Kentucky organizers that I spoke to there were of the opinion that basically if it were McGrath, their efforts would be better focused on other local races than
Yeah.
like pouring into her because it seemed a
Yeah,
lost
there's
cause.
not much to like there. I mean, she came out of the gate strong with a commercial where she's showing her Air Force background,
Right.
and it's like what the vague shit that Democrats love to say, like about
Oh, she
honor and
perfected it.
honesty
Yeah.
and all that. And look, I am pro honor and honesty, but at some point you have to like attach that to things that are meaningful to people, besides
Hmm.
like the vague sense that they'd rather be a fan of you than that
I don't believe you, Bill. I
aren't.
think you hate honor and honesty, and you are just trying to cover that
uh,
up right now.
Busted.
You're just
Busted.
democrating this shit.
Fucking hate honor. Honesty can go screw.
Absolutely. Existential world. What is honesty? What is
Yeah.
truth? It's
Keep
all
it all keep it
eh.
relative and vague, and let's see it all go to hell. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she was
Um
terrible right off the bat with all of that
it's
stuff.
terrible.
She
And again, it's like the image of like a strong woman who is in the
hmm
military. Democrats love their military candidates
yes.
because they think it cuts across to the voters they want, not the voters they have
Proud
waiting for them to do
to
something for them, just the
right.
voters they want, those suburban Republicans. Um,
Those are
and
the ones they
like
want.
all of Hollywood got on board with Amy McGrath. Like all the
Well, to be fair,
rituals.
that was the only, she had the benefit of declaring very early. So
Yeah,
like I have no problem with anyone who was on board with Amy McGrath right out the bat. Just simply as
yeah,
like there's a McConnell challenger.
yeah.
Like I mean, yeah, there's sure,
Totally
like if
fair.
that's all we've got is a half step up, let's take the half step up. That I'm like, all right, that's fine. But then once Kentucky was saying, yeah, no, we don't want her. We're not going to vote for her. We have other better options. Here are some, and then they themselves, weeded out Booker as their primary choice. Like that's when, okay, now what are you still doing,
Right,
supporting this
right.
candidate? Like
And a
she's.
lot of it is just, to be honest, I just am not enough of a political junkie or interested enough to follow every race everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, so sometimes it's just like, oh, I don't even know that she was being challenged, or I didn't know this about that person. Like they're less than perfect.
Sure.
Um, and that's just going to be the story. That's going to be the story going forward, even with some like ostensibly really progressive people. They're going to suck, or they're going to be corrupt, or they're going to like, you're going to find out, but it will be no more than what we already have in, the more centrist and certainly right wing cadre, where it's like, that is just, that is government. Like there's no
Right.
more to it than that.
Right. That's the highest they can achieve.
There'll be hypocrisy, there'll be people who are disappointing, but it's really the aggregate that matters.
You said hypocrisy, and I have no idea why, but my brain heard it as hip hoprisy, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting. Like, is that like an organization? Hypocrisy. Oh, cool. That sounds like I want to hear more. But
Oh God, I
I
just
just
pictured Elliot Engel doing like a
no,
no, but
oh
I
no, the
will go no
Democrats'
further with
urban
that.
outreach. Jeez, that's terrible.
So there was a lot. We're getting to time now, and maybe then
Mm.
some. But there was a lot we didn't talk about. But that's why we have next week.
We do
Um,
a
any
whole
final
nother week.
thoughts?
So many final thoughts.
Not
Uh,
forever. Again, just till next
Oh,
week.
okay. All right. I'm not going to jump off the cliff or shave my head. I mean, it could happen next week. My final thought is that I'm finally at peace with not having any friends who own a boat now that I recognize that, right, those aren't the people I want to be friends with.
Hmm.
Yeah. How about you? Any,
Uh,
anything?
yeah. Please don't make me look at pictures of you on the edges of buildings or cliffs. It's an act of hostility to me.
You know that this show goes out onto the internet, right? Like, you know that that's who's going to, people on the internet are going
Yeah,
to hear those words.
I'm a fool.
That's,
All right.
I mean,
Do your best. Block, 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 block. And don't
oh,
kill
gotta love
yourself.
it. Yes,
Well,
that too.
all right, Maura. Next week, maybe we'll talk about cancellation culture.
Oh,
Assuming
yes.
neither of us have been canceled by then.
Well, you know, I'll ghost in for it.
You know what? Cancel me, God, please. Put
That's
me
what
out of
I
my
always
misery.
used to say. Just please, I don't want to have to keep doing this.
I don't want to keep talking to you or have you talk back to me. Just
It
all
sounds
right.
like getting to go to bed.
Happy birthday to your boy. I hope he has
Thank
lots of
you.
brownies and lots of fun things
He's
and
got a ton. He's
more
gonna have a
dog
great
pictures
day.
than he can reply to.
It's
And I hope
wonderful.
his newfound social media presence is fun for all of you and doesn't make him a monster.
Oh no, it will. But that's all right. You know, 7 is the age for it, I think.
Yeah, it goes on a little further than that, as someone was, but
Okay, good.
you'll find out. No, they're sweet. 7 is a beautiful age. I
I
love
like it
kids.
so far. Day
All
1.
right. Thanks, Maura or
Thanks, Phil.
Maura. Bye.
However you want. Bye.